All right, welcome everyone to today's explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to be your guide for this one because, well, we're embarking on a pretty fascinating journey today. We're looking right under the hood at the mechanics of our own minds and actions. Specifically, we're going to explore a psychological phenomenon that literally every single human being experiences, yet very, very few of us truly understand. Mind and action, unraveling the attitude-behavior gap. Let's get right into it. So here is the big question. Why do our actions so often contradict our beliefs? It's kind of the ultimate mystery of human inconsistency, isn't it? I mean, have you ever strongly believed in something, absolutely known it to be true in your heart, and yet found yourself doing the exact opposite? You're definitely not alone. Today, we're going to visually unpack exactly why our brains do this, and more importantly, how we can actually fix it. Section 1. The core conflict, attitude versus behavior. Okay, let's dive into this gap. To understand what's going on, we first need to meet the two main characters of our psychological story. It's a clear contrast between our internal and external worlds. So on one side, we have attitude. This is your mindset. It's how you think and how you feel, and it's defined entirely by your own internal perception. Then, on the flip side, we have behavior. This is your actions, your moves, your actual conduct toward other people. Behavior is what you physically do, and it's heavily defined by external social norms. So basically, you have this internal mindset facing off against an external reality. They are two fundamentally different things. Section 2. Psychological friction, the engine of discomfort. Because your internal mindset and your external behavior are so different, they don't always align. And when they collide, man, it creates a very specific kind of internal psychological friction. That friction actually has a formal academic name, and it's an absolutely crucial point for us today: cognitive dissonance. It's the feeling of psychological distress, or just plain discomfort, that results from holding conflicting beliefs and behaviors at the same time. And here's the thing: people actively dislike this feeling. We naturally crave consistency. So when you act in a way that goes against your attitude, that little bit of unrest you feel inside, that is cognitive dissonance. It's literally an engine of discomfort that heavily motivates us to make a change. So what do we do about it? How do we reduce this dissonance and get our internal peace back? Well, the human brain generally takes one of three paths. Number 1, we just change our behavior to match our attitude. Makes sense, right? Number 2, we try to ignore or completely rationalize the situation away. Or, and this is where it gets really fascinating, Number 3, we actually change our attitude to match the behavior. One way or another, something's got to give to eliminate that discrepancy. Section 3. Let's look at the 4 behavioral realities. To see how this friction plays out in the real world, let's build a sort of high-level field guide. We can map out 4 completely different ways our beliefs and actions interact. Sometimes they perfectly align, and sometimes they clash spectacularly. Let's just break down this matrix case by case to really grasp the mechanics here. Starting with case 1. This is where attitude does not equal behavior. A classic example of this, and this was heavily supported by Richard Lapierre's famous sociological study, is politics. You know, plenty of people will loudly and proudly support a particular candidate. They've got the attitude down. The cognitive and emotional components are 100% there. But on election day, they just don't take the time to actually go out and vote. Their internal mindset simply did not predict their actual external behavior. Then we have case 2, where behavior does not equal attitude, and this one is usually driven by the environment. Picture this. You have a strongly positive attitude about playing by the rules, right? You absolutely hate when people jump a queue. But you arrive somewhere and literally everyone around you is cutting the line. You quickly realize that if you don't jump the queue too, you're going to be stuck there all day. So peer pressure and social norms completely force your external behavior to contradict your positive internal attitude. Moving on to case 3. This is where things finally line up beautifully. Attitude equals behavior. But you have to notice the incredibly intense conditions required for this to actually happen. Psychologists have found that getting this consistency usually demands a very strong attitude. The person has to be highly self-aware, there must be little to no external group pressure, the behavior shouldn't be heavily judged by others, and the person has to expect a positive consequence. I mean, it takes a lot. Interestingly enough, people with really high personal integrity usually live right here in this category. They show a direct one-to-one relationship between what they feel and what they do. And finally, we have case 4, which brilliantly illustrates our earlier point about cognitive dissonance. Sometimes behavior dictates attitude. There was this famous 1954 study by Leon Festinger and James Carl Smith, and they proved that if you give people incentives to behave completely contrary to their actual attitude, they experience that uncomfortable psychological distress we talked about. To reduce it, they actually retroactively change their original attitude to suit their external behavior. It's wild. We literally rewrite our own beliefs just to make sure they're pointing in the same direction as our actions. So, putting all this together, what really dictates whether our attitudes and behaviors will actually match up? It essentially boils down to 3 categories. First, your personal qualities. Are you aware of your feelings? Do you possess high integrity? Second, the qualities of the attitude itself. Is it a strong belief? Is it highly accessible, meaning do you act on it regularly? And third, the situation. Social norms, time pressure, and especially our base survival instincts can dramatically override absolutely everything else. Which brings us to Section 4, the deep anchor. Attitudes versus values. Now that we've got a solid grip on attitudes and behaviors, let's shift the narrative a bit deeper. Let's introduce the underlying anchor beneath all those surface-level mindsets. You see, while an attitude is related to a particular thing, maybe it's your stance on a specific political issue or even a style of dress, values are general in nature. For instance, you might have a liberal attitude about one specific policy, but if you hold the overarching value of liberty, you'll be liberal toward everything. Attitudes fluctuate with the situation. Values, however, are way stronger. They're more intense, and they are relatively stable and enduring. They are your core virtues. But as enduring as values are, they aren't completely carved in stone. The really fascinating exception here is that extreme, intense life incidents can permanently rewrite even these deep values. And history is just full of these profound transformations. Think about the Emperor Ashoka. His entire value system was completely flipped after witnessing the immense tragedy of the Kalinga War. Or look at the transformative journeys of historical figures like Angulimala, Valmiki, or Kalidas. Massive, earth-shattering life events can absolutely shake the deepest anchors of our identity. Because our values and attitudes are just so incredibly complex, it really helps to see how psychologists map out these mental models. Historically, there was this simple one-dimensional view, basically a single sliding scale where you either felt completely positive or completely negative about something. But modern psychology, it leans heavily toward a two-dimensional view. This postulates that positive and negative elements are actually stored on 2 completely separate dimensions in the brain. And this is brilliant because it perfectly explains human complexity. It means we can possess any combination of positivity and negativity simultaneously. You can quite literally love and hate something at the exact same time. Section 5, Bridging the Gap and Achieving Alignment. Let's bring this all home. So, we've explored the friction, we've looked at the 4 realities, and we've dug into the deep anchors of our values. Now let's look at your personal toolkit for achieving alignment, pulled directly from the research. If you really want to close that gap between what you feel and what you do, you have to actively work on it. Develop your emotional intelligence. Practice daily introspection. Build what experts call attitude literacy, actively identifying and labeling your good and bad attitudes. Connect with your conscience and really ask yourself why you hold a particular view. Develop your integrity, find new ways to self-motivate, and above all else, see change not as a threat, but as a genuine opportunity to grow. To wrap things up, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. Are your daily actions actually reflecting your deepest values? We've seen today just how easy it is for our behavior to drift away from our internal attitudes, whether it's driven by peer pressure, the situation, or just a simple lack of self-awareness. But by understanding the mechanics of cognitive dissonance and intentionally building our own integrity, we can close that gap. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Keep asking those tough questions, keep aligning your actions with your values, and I will see you next time.